Coming up, we're going to talk about part 2 of our Disney Vacation Club Frequently Asked Questions. Coming up next, from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, this is the Disney Vacation Club Show. Today's episode of the Disney Vacation Club Show is brought to you by the Timeshare Store. The Timeshare Store specializes in the sale and purchase of Disney Vacation Club properties. Their team of licensed real estate experts can help you with all your Disney Vacation Club needs. Call them toll-free at 1-800-550-6493 or visit their website at dvcstore.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show, coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends, Ms. Jackie Gailey.
Hi, everybody.
And Mr. Jerry Saito.
Hello,
from
hello.
the Timeshare Store. So we had come up with a lot of FAQs, and I wanted to break it up into 2 shows. So we're just going to kind of pick up where we left off in the last one. And these next 2 questions are ones that I had wondered too. I know the answer to them, but I thought about it because I had to research it. But can I switch my home resort?
You cannot, unless you sell your property. You can't switch it. I mean, you can, like if you're making reservations, of course you can stay other resorts. But if you wanted to switch from Old Key West and now own the boardwalk, you can't switch it unless you sell it. So,
and the same thing applies to your use here. You cannot switch your use here.
Correct. If something for whatever reason is not working out with your use here, meaning you just can't switch it to something else. You'd have to sell the membership and then buy another one.
Okay. And we kind of touched on this in the last episode. If I buy multiple contracts, but they have different use years, how would I go about booking them?
So you can do it online through the member website, or you can call member services. You can also transfer the points from one account into the other, so that way they're all in one place. But if you do that, you have to call member services when you're booking a reservation. So it is manageable through the member site if you keep them separate, but you have to book 2 separate reservations and then link them together. So again, manageable, but just an extra step if you did that.
Okay, so if you have, because, assuming the resale I put an offer on gets approved, I'll have 2 different use years.
Right.
So I would, if I wanted to use points from both, basically, if I'm going to use up all my, my one contract and, on my September use year, and then I need points from my, let's say April use year or whatever it is, I have to make 2 separate reservations?
You would, unless you, again, transfer the points into the other account. You can do that through member services. You just give them a call, say, I want to take the points from this membership, put them into that membership,
okay.
And I want to book a reservation. Now, they still hold the same use year, so that means banking deadlines would still hold true for the one that you transferred into the other. So you just kind of remember, you have to keep track of the banking deadlines if you're not going to use it. But at least they're all in one place. Now, if you don't transfer them, yes, you'd have to book one reservation with one package, the other reservation with the other, call member services, tell them to link those reservations so that way you're not checking out. You're basically it's a continuation step.
Okay.
Yep. And then if you end up canceling the reservation for any reason, then you have to, like you said, keep notes and keep that separate so that you know.
And they would go back into your account if you canceled the reservation, so they would just fall back in. But again, if you did transfer them into one account and you cancel, you want to take notes. Keep track.
Okay, let's talk about, let's skip down here a little bit. Let's talk about the different seasons. The same way Disney has certain seasons when they're setting their pricing for their hotels, they have seasons for Disney Vacation Club as well. They're different seasons. They're different dates.
Yep, there's 5 of them.
And so we're talking about Choice, Adventure, Dream, Magic, and Premier.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In that order. Choice is the cheapest.
The off-season, is the least expensive as well.
With Premier being
the most expensive.
The heavy season. why are there different seasons for DVC versus?
Well, there used to be low times at the parks, and they're trying to boost attendance, so they would promote lower rates for those, for those rooms to get people here. But Disney's brilliant, and they've done things to get people here year round.
But with Disney Vacation Club, is it a scenario where because members are their booking patterns are different?
Well, as kids are in school is typically when kids go back to school, like choice season. It's September, October, November. It's basically kids are back in school, so there wasn't as much of a crowd. So now, even though it is an off season, people still take their kids out of school to come.
Yep.
So it's
Food and Wine Festival, and they're like, let's go.
exactly. Yeah. But the heavier seasons, obviously, like Christmas and Easter would be premiere season, or if you're looking at Dream season or Magic season, usually falls into the summers or summer break or spring break. Choice and Adventure again, kind of the off times, but still people are coming.
And there can be a significant difference between the seasons in
yeah.
terms of the price point.
Oh, most
absolutely.
definitely. Yeah.
And it's interesting as I've been really digging into the point charts. I was not aware that you can book a concierge level DVC room at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Yeah, it's the only resort that offers the concierge.
I was stunned by that because I will tell you that lounge is among the best at World. Is among the best. Why aren't they doing that?
That's a great question. It's a wonderful luxury to have if you can book and stay at the Animal Kingdom and use. But why they don't do it at other properties? I'm assuming it's cost related, but I don't know.
You have concierge. I was amazed that even if you're paying cash for the bungalows at the Polynesian, that's not concierge.
Wow.
You do not get access to concierge. I was stunned by that. But all of these deluxe resorts where these DVC properties are located all have concierge floors.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's an interesting thought.
I would think that Disney, and maybe this is something they'll do at some point, who knows, but I would think that Disney would say, take a block of rooms and say, okay, we're going to make these concierge rooms now and tack on another 10 or 15 points a night. And,
Right.
Because the normal cash value of a concierge room, the price difference, depending on the resort time of year, is $150 to $250 a night. Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask this. This is not on our list. But how do you, are there times when the value of your points for a particular reservation, that it would be cheaper or better just to pay cash through Disney and book it direct?
I've never found that to. I mean, if you stay at a value property, it's probably on par or equal. But why? You've got the deluxe properties with the DVC, and I don't think it would make sense at all.
What's how do you calculate that?
So it's an interesting equation.
Again, these are the things going through my head.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at. Okay, if I want a 1-bedroom here, it's going to for 5 nights, it's going to cost me this many points. If I book that same room as a hotel room, it's going to cost me this much a night. And then it got me thinking, okay, so is there like a quick and dirty general rule of thumb that people say, all right, your points are worth, $18 a point or something like that, or whatever it is.
I'm sure there's an algorithm or a calculation out there that somebody has created to determine what your cost to purchase as well as your maintenance fees combine, what you're really paying for that.
I can figure that out looking at like the financing and or the term of the loan and
yeah. personally, like, so I've been a member for a while, and I look at my maintenance fees. The cost of my package when I purchased, it's gone up in value. So I kind of look at that as a wash. Like it's been spent, but if I ever need to get out of it, I can get my money back. So what am I really paying? And again, that's been the case since, the value of these have increased. I don't know how long that'll continue, but that's been the past.
I don't think there's any chance they're not gonna.
Yeah.
But what did I pay to stay at that resort at Vero Beach with an ocean view?
That's it. Because when I look, like I said on the last show, a couple times a year, I do what I call my staycations because I live here in Orlando, and I'll go stay on property. And a lot of the places I like to stay are places that also happen to have DVC components. Wilderness Lodge, Boardwalk, Beach Club, Animal Kingdom Lodge, Contemporary, Poly. These all have... So for me, that was like one of the first places I went in my head, was that the places I like to stay also have DVC. But I don't know. It's just like I keep thinking about, like, I want to put like a quick and dirty dollar value on my points.
So what I do, let's say for example, I stay at Polynesian. Polynesian costs maybe 15 points a night for a studio. My maintenance fees are around $7 a point. So 7 times 15 is 105, I think. So I look at it as I just paid $105 to stay at a deluxe property with a Magic Kingdom.
Well, that's true if your contract is paid off.
Right. Okay.
If your contract is paid off, if you're in financing,
that's a good point.
So you've spent, let's say you bought a pack, $22,000, and it's being financed at 9% or whatever it is, and you have a 5-year term, and you're paying X number of dollars a month. Well, now, no, it's more than your maintenance fees.
Correct. Yes, I didn't think of that. Yeah.
So, because now I'm in this position,
right?
Yeah.
I'm facing down the barrel of that gun, and so I just like, that's what I've been asking myself is, is there a calculation? And I think this conversation is going to be a little more existential than our last one,
right?
Because I'm thinking of things I didn't think of in the last one.
Yeah. Well, remember on one of our shows, we talked about how when we used to come from Seattle, we did it 2 times where we paid cash for a Disney Vacation Club room, and it was a grand villa. The first time was, no, not a grand villa. The first time it was a 2-bedroom, and the second time it was a treehouse. And I mean, we spent like between $8,000 and $10,000 for lodging for the week that we were here, just for that. And that's really a lot. So when you think about 2 trips, $17,000 to $20,000 for 2 trips for 2, weeks, you're kind of like, huh.
And that right there, that money, especially, then, even now, that can buy you some points.
It sure can.
That can absolutely buy you some points.
And and the money was spent. It's gone. So meaning
it's gone.
When you rented or booked a room through Disney, you're never getting that money back.
There's no additional value.
Right.
None
there's
at all.
no additional value on it. It's a really, really good point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Right. That it's not a fair, I guess it's really not a fair
difficult.
apples to apples comparison.
Yeah, it's really not. It's tough.
Because when you book the hotel room, once it's consumed and you've spent the money, that's it.
And you stay there.
Whereas with DVC, those points recharge every year.
Right.
Yep.
So there's somebody smarter than me out there that probably has an algorithm for this. And I don't know why I've got my teeth in this, but I do. And if you do, podcast@disunplug.com, let me know. But let's talk about financing. Because this was another question I had going in. Obviously you can just pay cash,
right.
But not a lot of people. Well, I don't know, maybe. But.
It's probably 60-40. There's great financing available, but there are a lot of cash buyers out there as well. And what's great about
okay, hold on. You look at the price of these, even on the resale market, which the prices are amazing. It's not a knock or anything, but a lot of these, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000.
Right.
So you have people. Here's $40,000. Give me that.
Yeah, it's not uncommon that it's a cash transaction, but financing is definitely an option. And there are companies that, Monera Financial is a company that doesn't care about your credit, doesn't care about any past hiccups or issues that you've had. They will finance any property you want to purchase for Disney Vacation Club. So they're excellent. And then,
But you're paying for that
in the interest.
in the interest.
Yeah, and not necessarily. I mean, it's competitive. It's not too high. I mean, their rates are usually between 9 to 15%, which depending on what loan you decide.
Right. And at
to go with.
15%, it's like putting it on a credit card.
Correct. Yeah.
So Monera's one, and that's, I guess, if you're, either don't want this on your credit,
Right.
or
Yeah,
because they don't run a credit check. This does not. So when you go through Monera, they're not putting that on your credit report.
Not at all. Now, they just recently announced that they will do a credit loan if you wanted a lower interest rate. So depending on your credit score, they will actually offer a loan, but the benefit is a lower interest rate. So you have the choice. If you don't want them to check your credit, you don't want it to show up on a credit report. Let's say you're buying a new house or something, and you just don't want this there, or you have a history of a hiccup that again, you can't get a loan. They'll finance you. But if you do want a lower rate, they will offer that with a credit check. So
Okay, so easy credit on Disney Vacation Club, that's dangerous.
It sure is. That's what I'm thinking.
Fun,
oh boy.
but dangerous.
Yeah.
All right, so what other, how many finance companies are there? I honestly don't know the answer to these questions. I'm asking them as...
So we deal with 4 different finance companies. Lightstream is a company that will check your credit, and they'll just send you a check. They don't, again, as long as your credit checks out, they'll send you a check for the amount that you want to use. There's Vacation Loans, excellent company as well. They also check your credit as well. And then there's Timeshare Lending. Now, Timeshare Lending just does Alani, Hilton Head as their properties. They don't do the Florida properties.
Right, because Monera will not do outside of Florida.
Correct. So they kind of, they separate. One does Florida, one does the outside.
Well, okay.
In Grand California. They will finance Grant. I don't know. I think they were competing with each other, and they just worked out a deal. Well, you take these, and we'll take those. I think that's what happened. There probably is more to the story.
It's like a racket.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
It's like the DVC mob bosses in the back room.
right.
They used to.
I'll give you Brooklyn.
Yeah.
They used to do them all, but then they decided to split it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, Monera is just the Floridas, and Timeshare Lending is out west.
Now, is timeshare lending the same as Monera
No.
in terms of the credit?
All of them are. Yes, they do a credit check for timeshare lending. If you're going to buy like an Alani, Grand California, or Hilton Head, so they will check your credit. The rates are all basically the same. They're all very competitive. They're trying to get your business, so they're all within the same amount.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of people doing like a second mortgage on their house too.
When I
and
first
getting the
bought,
cash.
that's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so, and I realize this is a dicey question because it's different for everybody. Where's the line of responsibility in terms of how far is too far? Oh, but you know what? Better yet, let's back up a second. Let me ask this question. How do I know if DVC is right for me? Because it's not right for everybody. Let's be honest. It's not right for everyone.
That's right.
And, but who is it right for?
That's such a great question because,
Thank you.
yeah.
I
Well, people,
appreciate that.
I think it's right for the people that love Disney or just see themselves coming back on a somewhat regular basis. If you see yourself coming back at least once every 3 years, I think Disney Vacation Club is the way to go. If you're not coming, let's say it's just a one-time trip, it's one-off, you're not really, a Disney fan and need to come back on a regular basis, then no, just rent points.
Also, I think I would take it a step further, and some may disagree with me. If you do come down once a year or once every 2 years, but we're going to stay at the Values, we're never in the room. I don't know that Disney Vacation Club makes sense for you.
I don't think it does personally.
Because
If it's not your style to stay in a deluxe accommodation, I don't know that you're going to benefit from
Again,
that.
I fall back onto the money is gone once you rent from Disney. Now, again, if you're coming back on a regular basis,
Yeah.
I think it makes sense for really anybody, because at any point, 5-10 years down the road, you decide you need to
sell it, so you have to say that.
But I believe it. I feel it because
but it's. I'll be honest with you, because I hadn't thought of that prior to when you mentioned it a little while ago. That's a very compelling argument that I never ever thought of. I guess because I've never owned a timeshare, I never ever thought about what I spend on a hotel as being like it's not recyclable.
Right. Like I have issues because
disposable.
Yeah.
It's like you dispose of it when you're done with it.
It's done and you don't have anything to show for it. You just have
I have my memories.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I have issues with spending a lot of money on a hotel room thanks to Disney Vacation Club.
Right.
So, like, if I'm going to somewhere that doesn't have a Disney Vacation Club resort, and the hotel wants to charge $300 or $400 a night, I just look at my husband like a deer in the headlights, and I'm like, I cannot pay that much money for a night.
So here's
where Disney Vacation Club separates itself from so many other timeshares. I mean, again, it's an anomaly to the market. I've been there 19 years at the timeshare store. I've seen these properties sell for $50 a point, go all the way up to in the hundreds per point. I mean, now Beach Club is $145 a point. The point is, somebody who bought 5 years ago, 10 years ago, this doesn't happen in timeshare. These people now get to sell the property and make money. That's impossible. That doesn't happen in timeshare. So that's why I'm saying if you're renting, that money's gone, and I don't know what the future is. I don't know if they're.
So it's almost like the argument you make when you're renting a house versus buying the house.
Yep,
It's
that's
similar,
right.
yeah.
That money's going out the window. You have no equity.
Yep, you can't write off the. Yeah,
And so I
think if I didn't see that happening, I would have maybe a different side of the story. But I've seen it for so long, where people are like, "Oh my gosh, I paid $60 a point. I can sell this for $105. That's amazing!" Like, and I got to use it for 10 years, and my kids have grown up and they love it.
Yeah.
Really? Like they're just lost
How
in
can
it.
this happen? Yeah. Well, and we had some comments from our last show where people were talking about it not being a great investment and this and that because at the end of your term, but
I don't want to say it is an investment.
it's not
but
an
it's
investment,
been that
but
way.
it's
right. It's not an
you're going to
investment.
spend the money anyway going.
Exactly. It's not an investment like when you go and buy stocks or you buy an interest in a company.
Yeah.
That's
But
how good an investment, let's be honest, how good an investment is that hotel room you just stayed in?
Exactly.
So at least and for me, another consideration is, and this is not from a standpoint of snobbery or anything like that, with some of my anxiety issues, I prefer to have larger accommodations. I like suites. I like larger rooms. It helps me with some of my anxiety issues. The older I get, the crazier I get, and I like and believe me, if I think that's going to be an issue, I have to spend some real money sometimes to get the size room that I'm going to be comfortable with. Mm-hmm. So that was another consideration for me, was that being able to get a 1-bedroom villa would, saves me.
Yeah,
especially at Disney.
Yeah.
When you talk about the price.
And if it takes the edge off, it makes you comfortable where you are. There's no price on that. I mean,
yeah.
Really, you they don't care if you're 1 or 2 people staying in a 2 or 3 bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
If you're 1 or 2 people and you want to rent the tree house out, go for it. I mean, they're your points. That's the flexibility
to
do
them
whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, and just like I said, from the standpoint of what I would normally spend on a room versus what I spend on this. But, these are like I said, these are questions that have come up for me, like who is it right for? I had no doubt it was right for me because, I'm always staying at, And if I can get a room at the Grand, if I can use this for a room at the Grand Californian, I was at the Grand Californian 5 times last year. Okay, if I could get 2 of those, at the villas out there at the DVC at the Grand Californian, that saves me a fortune.
Yeah, and you asked who is this for? I mean, a lot of young families with children, a lot of retirees who want to take their grandchildren. I mean, it caters to Disney fans. Let's say you're running the marathon. They've got several marathons now, and you need a room and you want a nice quality room. Like, again, you buy into DVC, you have a great place to stay. I mean, it caters to a lot of people. Vendors for the Food and Wine Festival or whatever, they're coming back every year, so they want to get a room.
Now,
it caters to a lot.
One thing that, and we'll talk about this, and then we're going to wrap it up. One thing that I had questions about, and now that I've gotten my membership login, I've been able to go in and look around. I found out is availability of these units. Now, historically speaking, I will, and I understand, I'm not complaining at all. But historically, I like to say, you know what, I think next week I want to stay on property. Not much. That's really not going to work with DVC, is it?
Not so much.
You've got to plan
sometimes.
out. But what I'm noticing, and just tell me if I'm right here. Like, okay, so we're in February right now. By the time this goes up, it'll be March. But I was looking in March, and some grand villas were available, some 2-bedrooms were available, but not much else. Got into the first half of April. It was kind of the same thing. Got in the second half of April. Now, all of a sudden, I'm seeing more availability. So is that a normal thing, like a 2-month window?
It kind of depends, because after Easter, so after the school breaks,
Right, that's true. This is
kind of.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the snowbirds are coming down to get out of that cold weather. So you'll start to see a lot more openings in May, early June. Again, there's spotty availability now. Things can cancel. There might be some more things that pop up, but
a lot of times,
usually
around the 30-day mark too.
Right. Yeah.
And
exactly.
doesn't it? You can wait list.
You can
For a particular room or something.
Yeah.
And
I've had good success with wait lists.
Me too.
It never hurts to put your name on the wait list, and then usually it's always. I think every time it's worked out for me, to be honest with you. So
I've had
really.
Yeah,
See, I hear
for me,
what I was reading was that at the Grand Californian, that's not the case.
That was tough.
But that's an
prop-
unusual
yeah,
one.
That property is very
Saratoga
difficult to
is
get
the
into.
one I've had. Or
Lots
Key
of
West.
availability out in Aulani.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Summer and Christmas are the tough reservations in Aulani. Everything else pretty easy to
see,
get.
and I would not want to travel there in summer. I like going in either January, February, or November.
Yeah.
Great time to go. But even like right now, like when I'm looking at the availability, there was plenty of availability at Aulani.
Yeah.
So, and that was the other thing I thought about, because I do like to go out there. We were talking about this, I think, before the show.
Yeah.
That, I love going out there, but boy, that's a big nut that you've got, because you've got your airfare, which, depending on where you're flying from, I'm flying from, one of the furthest points away from Honolulu
Right.
you can be at. So you've got your airfare, and then Aulani's not cheap.
No.
Aulani is not cheap. Worth every penny. Don't get me wrong. But I think Aulani, if an occasional visit to Aulani is on your radar, you're crazy to not do it this way. And I'm saying that as a guy who owns a travel agency. I have to sell Aulani. And I love the property, but you know what? One of the biggest challenges Aulani has in selling their hotel rooms is that people want to use DVC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's one of the areas where I think it's really, really good. All right.
Yeah.
That's enough on this. That'll do it for this episode of our show, folks. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you again next week with another episode of the Disney Vacation Club Show. Have a great week.